let's talk about The Thing. All right, first of all, before I talk about The Thing, though, I did know I'd never seen The Thing. That's one that I totally missed, but I love John Carpenter's Halloween. Did I ever see any other John Carpenter films? I mean, I've seen Halloween too, but I don't really count that because I don't appreciate, they had to force him to make it. He didn't want to make it anyway, and so forth and so on. But Halloween, the first one, was just amazing. I love it. Classic monster movie. That ending is so beautiful because, Jamie Lee Curtis's character, she survives, but you can't find the shape. Where is he? And it's just that commentary that evil is in the world and true evil exists. It's worth fighting against. It's worth trying to survive against. It's even possible to survive against. But will it be possible the next time? You don't know. It's a new battle each and every time, So it's just love that movie. There's so much more to that, but it was a great movie. So I decided to watch The Thing. Also love Kurt Russell. I mean, I love anything he's in, mostly anyway. He was the one guiding or the one saving aspect of the Legendary Versus TV series that was just nothing but a bunch of DEI shoved in it every which hole. But at least you had Kurt Russell and his son who acted really well in it. Anyway, I knew, though, that The Thing was based on The Thing from Another World from 1952, I think. And that's one of the Howard Hawks films I had never seen. And Howard Hawks, he's one of my favorite directors ever. I talked about how much I love Rio Bravo, for example, how that's one of my favorite films ever. But what I've always loved about Howard Hawks, we talked a lot about, we've looked at some of his film noir, we've looked at some of his screwball comedies and whatnot. He's a director at least, and he writes-ish some. I mean, he uses scripts, that people write, but he's from that area where the directors were basically they did a lot of storytelling and from ground up themselves, even if they work with screenwriters. And he's somebody who literally did a movie in just about every genre you can think of. Scarface, gangster movie, Bringing Up Baby, screwball comedy. Like I said, he did detective films, film noir. He did musicals, Gentlemen for Blondes, and The Thing from Another World. Now, he's listed as a producer on A Thing from Another World, and his film editor, I think, was the one that he listed as the director, but everybody knows that he actually directed the movie. The cast will all tell you they know Howard Hawks was there directing the movie. If you know Howard Hawks' movies, if you know the feel of their films, this is very clearly a Howard Hawks film. Even the guy listed as the director said, yeah, no, Howard Hawks directed it. Howard Hawks said he let his film editor be listed as the director so he could get into the Directors Guild. But then there's also speculation, too, that back then, I mean, if you're a well-known, well-respected director like Howard Hawks was, you've done Westerns, you've done everything, to do a little sci-fi, especially a horror sci-fi movie, that really kind of is a blight on your reputation or on your record, so he didn't want to actually be listed as the director, I would imagine. But anyway, I'd never seen that movie, and it is freaking amazing. The Thing from Another World, 1952. It's absolutely everything you'd expect from a great Howard Hawks film. Snappy dialogue, but even to the next level. I mean, a lot of people have seen it, have said this before, but there's this aspect where in the scenes, the characters interrupt each other a lot, or they'll speak over one another a little bit towards the end, which makes it very lifelike. That's how people talk in real life. And at first time it happens, you think, oh, that, one actor wasn't quite done with his line before the other one jumped in. But no, they keep doing it over and over again. And it's to show the communal nature. Like, if we are to survive as humanity, we need to work together. And that's one of the themes of the film you see. And The Thing from Outer Space, it's very... Now, looking at it today, a 1952 film viewed from today's lens, you're not getting scared watching this movie. It's no tense moments. You're not like, ooh, it's a 1952 film. So it just hits differently in that respect. But you can see how that's how to do good pacing and good tension. You don't really see the alien very much at all. You see a glimpse of him in the ice a little bit. And when you do actually see the full-bodied alien monster coming after them, it's in the shadows. You see it like once or twice for like a quick little glimpse. And it just adds to the effect of it all. The ending is great. The characters, it has such a large cast of characters, but each of them has their little moment, and they really are developed quite well throughout the whole thing. The pacing of it was so perfect. There was no lulls or no like moments where you're like, oh, man, this is kind of dragging a little bit or anything. I could talk way more about just The Thing from Another World, but I know you guys want me to move on to The Thing, so I will. But let me just encourage you. Even if you love John Carpenter's The Thing and you think nothing could be better, you might want to. It might be interesting to you to go watch the movie that was first created. Now, I argue that John Carpenter's The Thing is not a remake of A Thing from Another World, The Thing from Another World. What I think is a best way to explain that is John Carpenter's The Thing is another adaptation of the same source material, because there's a short story. I forget the name of the short story. It's not The Thing, but there's a short story that the original 1952 film is based on, and technically that John Carpenter's The Thing is based on. John Carpenter's The Thing adapts different aspects from that story than the Howard Hawks film does. It does make a few nods to the 52 film, kind of pays homage to it a little bit, which is nice to see, but it's a very different, it's not a remake at all. It's none of the same characters, none of the same setting. The monster's completely different. It's just such a totally different film. I think it's really just not correct to call it a remake. I think it's another adaptation of the same source material. So Who Goes There? Yeah, that was the name of the short story. Thank you. So I watched The Thing then, and I thought, okay, this is going to be cool. I like the basic fodder for the story already. Kurt Russell's in it. Wilford Brimley's in it. The guy who played Clark, who was also Stan in It. He was the father in License to Drive. I'm blanking on his name right now, but I love him. And I love his acting in different movies throughout the 80s. So he was great to see in it. And the movie starts, and I love the way it starts. I love the way, we're in Antarctica. We're not in the North Pole. We're in Antarctica at this point. And you got this helicopter chasing this like husky dog across the snow, trying to shoot at it, like really trying to take this dog down. But the dog's just doing everything it can to survive. And you're like, oh, the poor dog, I hope it gets away and stuff. And the dog eventually runs up to this U.S. research outpost there, where all of our main characters are. And this helicopter guy, like he accidentally blows up his helicopter, getting out of it and running away. And he's trying to shoot at this dog for all get out, and ends up firing and shooting one of the U.S. guys in the leg there. So they eventually have to kill this guy who's just gone mad with a gun here. And then they're left with this mystery, like, who is this guy? They see from the markings on the helicopter that it was a Norwegian outpost. And very quickly into the movie, I don't think it's a spoiler, but you realize, okay, the dog, there's something about the dog, right? The alien monster or whatever, it's inside the dog, or you don't know how at first, but the dog is the problem here. Okay, you realize that, and you see scenes in the outpost where the dog's just kind of walking around, or it goes into one guy's room, or it's just in the rec room with him, and so forth. And I thought this is a really good setup for some real tension and suspense here, especially at the end of this night. They've gone and they've investigated the Norwegian place, which is in ruins now. And they see the burned bodies of these like shape-shifting, disgusting, monstrous creatures and everything. So they see all this, and great tension. Then you're back, and it's nighttime. There's a storm coming in. They can't reach anybody on the radio. They're in freaking Antarctica. And the dog's still there in the rec room. And one of the guys is kind of startled by the dog. He says, hey, Clark, take this dog out to where it belongs or whatever. Because they've got a place sort of not outdoors, but in the element a little bit where the huskies are more comfortable anyway, the pen for the dogs. So you see the dog, and it goes into the pen, all the other dogs, and it sits down. I'm thinking, this is amazing. This is what great fodder for suspense and terror. And the dog lays down, and I'm thinking, okay, we're going to hear the dog scream and bark and cry out in pain. And then the people are going to run back in, and you might only see 2 dogs left alive, right? So they have to let the 2 dogs back in with them, because they can't leave them there with all the dead dog bodies or whatever. And then it's like, oh my gosh, which dog is it? And they're going to really ramp up some tension and terror. That's not what you see. You go ahead and see the dog sit down and then morph into this giant monster changeling kind of creature. And then everybody runs in and sees that going on. Where's the suspense in that? It's all gone. Now, to be fair, maybe John Carpenter wasn't looking for suspense. Clearly, he was looking for other things. He nailed the claustrophobic nature of the story, how everything was, they're isolated in this Antarctica. Who can you trust? That everybody's paranoid. The viewer's paranoid. He really nails a lot of the effect, which is a good thing. And the effects are amazing. The effects deserve every bit of accolades they've received. Even today, they look different to modern eyes that are so used to seeing everything, with computer generated stuff. But I don't think they were all that dated, to be honest. I think they were just amazing. So the effects, 100% freaking amazing. But I'm watching it, and I keep waiting to find a character that I can really care about more than another or something. And I know that maybe you don't want to invest viewers into any one character too much, because you kind of have to keep them all paranoid of each other. But we need a perspective. And you do get Kurt Russell's character, you get his perspective the most. He's the one kind of taking point. But I asked myself, am I invested in his character because of any of the writing or any of the story, or is it just because Kurt Russell's playing him? Because Kurt Russell has a natural presence, a charisma about him. You know, you're going to follow him in any movie. And then I knew who he was too, you know, I know that image, that voice, that face and stuff. And I don't really care about his character. I mean, the first time you ever see him, he's playing automatic chess, that Chess King computer game in his little loft there, and he loses. And as soon as he loses, he pours his drink inside the computer, fries out the whole thing, and says, "You cheating bitch," and then walks away. Now, that can either be funny, or it can be, look at that petulant child. And it depends on how you build on it, right? There are different ways to invest audiences in a character. You can use humor, you can use sympathy, or competence. You can use a combination of the three, but those are the three ways. And you can't, if you're going to use sympathy, you can't just drive sympathy into the ground. This is one of the problems with Man of Steel. Who gives a crap about this Clark Kent? Because all you ever do is look how hard he had it. Look how hard. Hey, see how hard he still got it? Yeah, look how hard he's dealing with things now. Hey, look how sad he is now, guys. See how sad he is? Like, who cares? Who cares? Pull your big boy trunks up and do something, you know? So anyway, I know that just pisses off the Snyder Bros watching, but anyway, I didn't really care about his character. And then the ending, I was waiting for something to happen. I liked a lot of it. I liked the paranoia, the Dr. Brimley and you know, all of the different ways the film misdirects you here and there that seemed very you know, natural. It didn't seem what's the word? Planned or you know, there's a word I'm looking for, but I can't think of it. But it didn't seem, you know, instigated or, you know, overhandedly done or anything like that. And then that ending, okay, well, is one of them the thing or is not? And then they just sort of sit there basically to die, because you can't imagine any setting to where they're going to live. The storm's still going on. Nobody can come rescue them. They've blown up contrived. Yeah, thank you. That's the word, Solo Center. Everything's blown up around them. So there's no heat to be had after the fires subside. They're just there to either die from the cold or one of them becomes the thing and kills the other. That's the only thing that can happen. And then the movie just ends. And I thought, what did this movie, what was the purpose of this movie? Just to make me feel kind of paranoid and a little claustrophobic? Okay, but I can do that reading a Post story. To show off some really cool effects? Okay, great. I think this film absolutely deserves its place in cinematic history, and I can see its influence on movies to come after it. I get it. 100% agree with you. But that ending was just like, what? I don't see any purpose for the film. Like, what is the film trying to accomplish with me? Is there any kind of message? Is there any, and I don't need a neat little moral or anything, but I need something more than, yeah, but did we make you feel kind of scared? I need more than that, you know? I need a purpose. The Thing felt like a postmodern film. It 100% felt like postmodernism at work on the cinema. And I hate that. I hate that. Other people love it. That's great. Fan Man was pointing out to me how the ending was ambiguous, just like Halloween. And I get that. But the reason I love Halloween's ending is because Jamie Lee Curtis's character is alive, and she's solidly alive. Like, you can see her going off to the police station or the hospital or whatever. Again, ignore what happens in Halloween 2 if you don't like that continuity, like I don't. But the evil is still out there. The evil still exists. The evil is still out there. We're making comments about evil. We're making comments about the importance of humanity fighting against evil. All of these humans in the Thing at this outpost, we're all being terrible to each other. Nobody was really being kind to the other. The only person that I kind of started to feel some investment in was Clark, the guy who really loved the dogs. But then he dies like a chump, you know, halfway through the film. So I didn't really get a lot of time with him. And again, I could relate to the characters. I could relate to how terrifying it would be. Maybe one or two characters does something that I would maybe do if I was in that situation. You can relate to the frustration of the captain being tied to the freaking couch the whole time, and they finally realize he's not the Thing. Yeah, you can relate to the situation, but that doesn't mean I give a crap about any of these characters. And I just didn't. I really didn't. And I think most people, if they're honest, they would say they didn't either. I think they relate. People enjoyed the ride. And hey, that's enough for some people. Again, this was like more solidly a horror film that I'm not really into. So I'm not the person this movie was made for. It's again, just like I'm not a kaiju fan. I'm not just a horror fan. I don't like John Carpenter's movies across the board just because, I mean, there's not for me, taste wise, I mean, but I really like Halloween because of what it was. If you're livid with me, that's fine. Fan Man told me it's an undeniable classic, and if you can't see that, I don't know what I can say. So he's already taken me behind the woodshed. There's nothing you can say, but I really don't like this movie. I understand it's a classic masterpiece. I understand why it is great. I'm glad people enjoy it. Get the best edition you can and watch it over and over if you want, but I'll never watch it again. And personally, I don't see what the big hubbub about it is. I really don't. Sorry. I'm sorry. just didn't like it. But I loved Thing from Another World, the Howard Hawks film. So I do recommend people check that out.